Hey guys, just going over a carburetor cleaning and sometimes rebuild. In this case, I'm just going to clean them because the gaskets are in pretty good shape. This is off a 1986 RG250, the Suzuki RG250 two-stroke. These carburetors are really simple, and if you get to the basic issues of these carburetors real quickly, you can pretty much fix your bike and get it running decent within an hour or 30 minutes sometimes if you're quick at it. Pulling them off, not so bad. They have slides attached to the throttle cable, and the slides go down in here, and you just leave that assembled on the bike. You take 2 screws out, and the needle in the slide pops out with this big spring. You don't want that to fall apart. It's not the end of the world if it does, but just slide that out to detach this. Take your fuel lines off, obviously. And then I put a little plastic bag around the slide and leave it on the bike there. That's attached to the throttle cable. But basically, the main issues with these things are you take off this body and you check the floats. The float hangs up sometimes, and you can see the floats here. And you can see the float needle down in here flopping around, and you kind of can test it by using gravity to, the needle's down in here. You see that little tiny, where my tip's going. And if I flop it this way, you'll see the needle right here drop. Maybe. There it goes. It dropped. Oops, I'm off screen. Sorry. It dropped. You can see when I push the float up. See the needle in this crack down here going up and down? I got to get straighter to get it to work. It doesn't like to be at an angle, but if you shake it, it comes out. With fuel, it should come out. Now, obviously, when carbs start pouring on the ground, it means that the needle will not go up. The floats aren't working, and it's not floating up and pushing the needle in and plugging the hole. So it starts to drain on the ground and come out your overflow. Your overflow is right over, where is that little sucker? It's on the bowl. Here it is. It's on the bowl. Here's your overflow. You'll see fuel pouring out of here. But the main issues you want to go after in these things, got to be careful of the floats. Don't bend these things right here. Don't bend this little copper stuff. And if you need to take this off, it's easy to just push this pin out. And sometimes there's a clip on this one to take the needle right out. You can take that out and clean it if you need to. This is working pretty good on both of them. It really wasn't an issue. And I sprayed a little gum out in there. But the main issues are what I'm doing here. I'm soaking the, I got some of this Yamalube carb cleaner. It's supposed to be pretty killer stuff. And you can use different things. And sometimes I use a sonic cleaner. But I'm kind of doing the quick clean on this one. But you can see the main pieces are located right here in this hole. And this has a nut on it. You'll see the nut. And then in this little jet down in here, it's full of little tiny pinholes. And that's where the crud builds up. As you can see, if you look real closely, see these little pinholes? They're on both sides. Those you have to make sure are clear. Now the tool I use is really a welding tip cleaner. So I have a variety of wires that will fit in there. And you want to be gentle because it's copper, or brass, I guess. And you can just kind of go right straight through these gently and make sure they're clear. So you want to make sure everything's clear. And I go right through here, make sure that's clear. And then sometimes I use a gentle brass brush just to clean the crud off a little bit, just very gently. And then this goes back in here. You got to bring it in from the other side, though. It's got to go in this hole and drop down in. And I use this little plastic spray tube thing to guide it for myself to get it back in, because you got this notch to deal with. And so that's that. And then you've got these other little things here. I'll show you. The nut to that was this. That was the nut that goes on there. It's got a washer that goes with it. So I'll set that here. Here's the nut. And that went onto this. And then the washer was with that as well. There's my little washer. I scrubbed all this stuff with my brush softly. And that Yamalube it's been soaking in, or Yamalube carburetor cleaner. And this little sucker, this was my guilty party, I believe. This, I think this is on the idle side of things. But basically what was going on is this thing was not clear when I stuck this through here. It's real tiny. You don't want to force it. You want to find the one that fits, because you don't want to open these holes up anymore. Otherwise you change your jetting in a sense, or your mixtures and everything. So I checked all these holes and soaked them for a while. So that one's easy. That's buried down in that hole. You need little screwdrivers, but basically this one goes down in this little hole. Be careful of your floats. I just tweaked on them a little bit, but you don't want to. This one drops down that hole. And actually, I might as well put it in now, but I'm going to clean it with some, I always kind of hit it with gum out as I reassemble in case there was sediment sitting in that. Make sure I didn't bend these things. Make sure they're straight. Yep, good. You got to set the carbs upright, keep it stable there. There you go. And then I'll just use a little bit of gum out just to make sure that needle or that opening is clear. Okay, so those are the main things. It's those two things. You just clear those little tiny holes. Use your, this is a welding tip kit. If you open it up, it's got a bunch more in there that are different sizes. So that's handy. They make carburetor ones too, but I just happen to have the welding one. And that's it, basically. All right, I hope that helps. So you don't even have to mess with any of the other screws. So the adjustments are all the same, and all you're doing is taking apart and cleaning these things. Talk to you later, guys.